Let's talk a little bit about radical Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, really the worst of American politics. If you imagine for a second, oh, let's say we were sending some elected officials to, pick a country, wherever, Ireland, to represent the best of the United States House and Senate. Marjorie Taylor Greene is basically the most humiliating person you could send, along with a couple others, Madison Cawthorn, Louis Gohmert, Lauren Boebert, Matt Gaetz, these types of people. Okay, so she's facing some problems. The first problem is that a judge has ruled that the effort to remove Marjorie Taylor Greene from her reelection ballot in November, upcoming now in a few months, can go forward. Now, the judge hasn't said she's off the ballot. The judge has said the effort can, in principle, go forward. This is absolutely fascinating. And this is going to be a legal fight. So let me explain what's going on, or we're going to look at the New York Times report from this morning. A federal judge cleared the way for a group of Georgia voters to move forward with legal efforts seeking to disqualify Greene from running for re-election. Why? Well, citing her role in the Trump riots. The disqualification effort is based on a constitutional provision adopted after the Civil War that barred members of the Confederacy from holding office. It mirrors several other cases involving Republican members of Congress whose roles leading up to and during the Trump riots have drawn criticism. The judge was appointed to the district court for the Northern District of Georgia by President Barack Obama and denied Marjorie Taylor Greene's request for a preliminary injunction and temporary restraining order. In the 73-page ruling, Judge Tottenberg wrote that Greene had failed to meet the burden of persuasion in her request for injunctive relief. This case involves a whirlpool of colliding constitutional interests of public import, the novelty of the factual and historical posture, especially assessed in the context of a preliminary injunction motion, has made resolution of the complex legal issues particularly demanding. The argument that Greene made is there's no way to resolve this fully before the primary on May 24th. And absentee ballots are going to start being mailed in on April 25th. So there's no way to fully adjudicate this in time. And the argument from the judge here is Greene is arguing sort of like procedure, like the primary's really soon, and there's no way to decide this now. The judge determined Greene hasn't shown that it's likely she would succeed on the merits. So Marjorie Taylor Greene went on Tucker Carlson's show last night, and she's flipping out. Listen to what she had to say.
I have to protect myself. I have to go to court on Friday and actually be questioned about something I've never been charged with and something I was completely against. And so this is how far it's going. These leftists, these progressives who they'd rather have the judge or bureaucrats making decisions instead of voters. They want to hand that over to them and not let the people in my district even have the right to vote for me. But no, the Republican Party.
Now, that's a very dishonest argument, because this is sort of like saying, hey, there's rules about who can be in the House and Senate. And for example, if a member of the House were convicted of a crime and then forced to resign, anybody could get up there and say, you know what? The right of the people to just decide, given that this individual was convicted of a crime, do we still want them representing us or not? That's being denied to them. Right. But these are the rules. These are the rules. And the law is you can move to have someone taken off of a ballot if you can prove that they did certain things. That's all. It's very naive or cynical or just dishonest to say, oh, the people aren't being allowed to just voice their opinion. Well, there are times where we say you can't be on the ballot.
To fight harder, Tucker. There's something that I have learned, and I think this is really important. If you can challenge any representative's candidacy or elected office holder, then I bet you we could round up some Republican voters who didn't like Kamala Harris.
By the way, still can't pronounce Kamala's name.
Funding criminal rioters out of jail, exactly. Or Ilhan Omar, or Cori Bush, or Maxine Waters.
Now, what do those four women have in common? Hold on a second. Kamala Harris, Ilhan Omar, Cori Bush, Maxine Waters. There's something similar about them, right? I'm trying to remember. Why is she mentioning those four?
Inciting riots. I think there's another way to play this game.
Now, of course, this is also absurd, what she says, because this is exactly what they did to Joe Biden's win. She said, you can't just have people challenge whatever, anybody's position. But Joe Biden won, and that's exactly what all of you guys did. You were like, no, he didn't win. He doesn't get to be there. There was no evidence for it. There was no legal basis. There was no factual basis. There was no empirical basis. So this is actually a very interesting legal case. If this were to work against Marjorie Taylor Greene to keep her off the ballot, you in theory could use it against other pro-insurrection, pro-riot politicians. And I'm sure that if this goes against Marjorie Taylor Greene, she will try to appeal, and maybe it would get all the way up to the Supreme Court, because they're actually, I don't want to pretend that the legal issue is cut and dry. I read a bunch of opinions this morning, and this comes down to the 14th Amendment. So there is a constitutional issue as to whether you really could keep her off the ballot in this way. There's a mechanism to request it. And if it were successful, there would be a question as to whether it's constitutional. But that doesn't matter. It's a process that is going through, and her disdain for having to participate in a legal process, aside from what your opinion is of what the outcome should be, is the exact type of entitlement that we've seen from these people for so very long. But this isn't the only problem that Marjorie Taylor Greene is having. Let's go to the next one. If you're looking for a therapist or seeking treatment for mental health or substance abuse, check out Compassionate Care. Compassionate Care is a medical practice offering mental health treatment that's affordable and remote in the comfort of your home. Compassionate Care offers remote talk therapy to patients nationwide. You can establish a meaningful long-term relationship without having to drive to an office for every appointment. Psychiatry services are available remotely to patients in Pennsylvania and New York. Compassionate Care offers medication-assisted treatment for opioid or alcohol addiction with the medications buprenorphine and naltrexone, available in Pennsylvania, New York, and Delaware. Compassionate Care does not require insurance. They're a small independent practice. They support the David Pakman Show, and you can support them, and they're ready to talk to you. Get a free consultation by calling 855-208-2408 or go to caredrs.com. The link is down below.